Welcome to Lesson 90, Interpreting a Two-Way Frequency Table and Relative Frequencies. Here's our CFS for this lesson. If you get a table that's incomplete, you have to be able to complete it accurately. That's one. It's just like in our last lesson. But the main one is to be able to accurately comprehend the question and determine what should be the numerator and what should be the denominator in the problem. In other words, what's the part and what is going to be the whole in that percentage question. What are they asking you to figure out? And finally, can you consistently calculate percentages? So here's the model I'm going to give us for today. We're going to start off with this survey that Kanisha took at school, and she asked 80 kids what sport they preferred to play: basketball, football, or soccer. So although we're going to look at a two-way frequency table, I want to just start high up. This is about preferred sports. So that's our relative frequency. It's the original categories that we're dividing all the frequencies by. Okay, so our preferred sports are basketball, football, and soccer. And that's how we're dividing all 80 kids. They're into one of these three buckets. So now let's look at it as a two-way frequency table where it's still the 80 students, but notice she's broken it up by gender as well. So you have your preferred sports and you have information by gender, and that's what makes it a two-way frequency table. We're looking at both sets of information. So here's the next term I'm going to give us. We're going to look at the joint frequency, and by joint frequency it just means in this part in the middle we're joining together those two categories. Okay, so we're looking at, let's say if I'm looking here, I'm looking at the category of soccer and girls. So 18 represents both of these categories combined. They're joined together. So that's why I put this in the middle for a joint frequency. So one question you might get is, what is the percent of students surveyed that are girls who like basketball? So let's say this is the question: girls who like basketball. So I have to look at girls and basketball, and we get this number over here, 6. So if I wanted to figure out what is that as a percentage, then I want this part, this 6, out of all 80. So that is one way. This is one type of percent. They might ask you, what is this part out of all the kids surveyed? Let's look at another one, and here we're going to look at marginal relative frequency. And when we think of margins, like the margins on the page, we go to the edges. So with marginal, we're looking at the edges, the totals from the joints. Okay, so it could be like the total number of kids who want basketball, all the kids who like football, or all the boys or all the girls. So here's an example on the bottom. What percent of students surveyed prefer football? So in other words, I'm going to go here, of all the kids who like football, and there are 32 kids who like football out of 80. So this is my part that they're asking for out of 80. And the language is important. So you see there, not just the girls who like football, that would be 12, but all the students who want football. So this is to the margins, a marginal relative frequency. And let's look at our third type of percent they can ask for, which is a conditional relative frequency. In other words, if they're asking for within one of these sections in here, can we find percentages of parts of parts? So for example, let's look at this question: the percent of girls who prefer soccer. So I'm going to look for here the girls and soccer. So this is these 18. Now what if I want the percent of girls? The percent of girls who like soccer. So now I'm looking at 18 out of 28, and that would give me the percent of girls who like soccer. So let's try this out. Here's our first question. Of the girls surveyed, what percentage, so of the girls, what percentage preferred basketball? So I'm going to look for the part out of my total, and it's saying of the girls. So my total are the total number of girls. What percentage like basketball? Okay, so there are 36 girls, and out of 36 girls, 6 like basketball. So 6 out of 36. which gives me 0.166, which is the same as 16.6%. So what kind of frequency is this? This one will be conditional. And why? Because I'm looking at a part from within here. So I want to know a part of this out of all the girls. Let's go to the next one. What percentage of the students surveyed preferred basketball? So this one sounds different, doesn't it? Because instead, here's part, here's total. I'm looking at all the students who like basketball. So in this case, there are 80 students. And what part like basketball? 20. So I have 20 out of 80. This simplifies to 1/4 or 25%. So I will put this into my calculator. If you did it, you would get 0.25. Sometimes my calculator gets funky. You would get 0.25, but we want to put this as a percent as well, or 25%. And so this one, because it's on the edges, is marginal. It's a marginal frequency. Okay, let's look at the next one. What percentage of students surveyed were girls who preferred basketball? Ooh, this one's a little trickier, right? Because we want to know the percent of the students, so we still want all the students, but we want girls and basketball. So in this case, we have all together, we know it's going to be out of the 80, which are the girls. I'm going to look for girls and basketball, and that's over here, 6. So this is going to be pretty, there we go, 7%, 7.5%. So 0.075 or 7.5%. And this one is a joint frequency. And that makes sense because you can see there are two things joined in here, girls and basketball. All right, let's jump into your guided practice before we end for today. Hit pause, read this problem, and try to calculate what percentage of college students preferred classic rock. All right, and welcome back. Let's do the reveal. What percent prefer classic rock? The answer is 3, 2, 1, 28%. So how do we get this number? Here was the hotspot part. If you didn't notice, there were no totals here, and they're asking us for the percent of college students who prefer classic rock. So that is our percentages here. We're looking for the total number of college and classic rock. We know that there are 14 college students who like classic rock, so we need to know the total number of college students. So you just have to add all of these up over here. And if you did, you would get 50. And so 14 out of 50 on a calculator would give us the 28%. So this one had a little extra trick to it. You had to actually calculate those totals, and that was the first part of our criteria for success. If a column is not given, you had to be able to compute it on your own. Well, that's it for today's lesson. Please make sure you're using all 3 of these points in your CFS to really get feedback and to make sure you can master today's skill. I'll see you in the next lesson. Be well.